So welcome everybody. This is our sixth UTOOLS session. We've got one more?
Yes.
After this? Yes. Okay. So we're almost to the end, but this is our sixth. The topic today is on applying for college and writing college essays. Our sessions are brought to you through a partnership between Career Transitions Incorporated and U of M Dearborn with funding through the Michigan College Access Network. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Theda Gibbs-Gray as our presenter. You'll meet her and learn more from her in just a few minutes. And at this point, I will pass it over to Alexandra. We'll talk about our icebreaker today.
All right, so today our icebreaker is to either show off your dogs that you have at home or show off a dog or any pet really that you would like to have one day in the future. So for today, I showed off two of my dogs. This one's named Lola. She's a couple months old. She's like 8 months old, and this is Toby. He's 1 year old, about to be 2. I have another dog. He's a lot bigger. His name is Choco. He's 11 years old actually, and he's a German Shepherd, but because he's very camera shy, he didn't let me take a photo of him. So if anyone wants to go ahead and share about their pets or dream pets, please go ahead.
Alexandra.
Yes, Barry.
Don't forget to share with them that your dogs only speak Spanish.
Oh yeah, for some reason Perry finds that very fascinating because I'm Mexican and at home we only speak Spanish. My dogs only respond to Spanish commands. So if I say like sit, they don't really sit down. Pero if I say siéntense, they'll sit down. So I don't know why that's really fascinating to Perry, but yeah, my dogs only speak Spanish.
So I have a rescue dog named Hooch. He is 2 years old. We did not name him Hooch. That was the name that he had when we adopted him, and he already knew his name, so we figured it would be easier for him just to keep it. A crazy thing about our dog is that he eats everything. Even things that you wouldn't think would be appetizing, like money. He will eat money, so we cannot leave any money out. He'll eat wood, he'll eat plastic, he loves hangers. And we have had to like toddler proof our house. It's like doggy proof, I guess, hooch proof, where we can't leave anything on a counter or a table. And he's so big, he can pretty much reach anything. So in our kitchen, there's like nothing on our counters because he can reach all the way to the backsplash. So he's a handful. We're hoping that with age, he will settle down.
Well, that's cool.
All right, I'll go. This is my dog back here. His name is George, and he's a rescue also. His owner was in the military and got transferred to Saudi Arabia. And so we rescued him. When we went to pick him up, I thought I was getting a nice little puppy. I got a nice little pony. He's about 140 pounds. He's very, very calm and peaceful and affectionate and just likes to lay around and have people pet him.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. Would anyone else like to share before we get started?
I'm happy to share. This is Theda. So I was sharing earlier, while I don't have a dog now, dogs are probably my favorite pet. And I grew up for most of my childhood, and I had a beautiful Shih Tzu named Pepper, who was more like our brother than just a pet. So I will welcome any dog, hopefully in the next few years. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
You guys saw my maybe dog named Jack. He's a rescue from the Humane Society. He's very odd. He does not like people coming up to the house. He doesn't like the mailman. I don't think the mailman likes him either, or any delivery people. And his favorite thing to do is just sit by the window and just watch. He just watches anything and everything that goes by. He's ruined the top of our couch because he just lays up there, and he's about 60 pounds. So he just ruined the top, and we love him anyway.
I wish I could get a large animal like a panther or a tiger, but those would not be good to bring in your home because they're not domesticated.
Perry, we don't want to see you on any Netflix movies.
was just
No,
thinking
no
that.
Tiger King. No.
I don't think Carol
Right.
Baskin will be too happy with that,
I would love
Perry.
to get a large cat in my home. Could you imagine me walking down the street, walking one of those down the street?
Oh Lord. You know what you should look into, Perry? You should look into getting a domesticated fox.
No, that's a dog.
Well, no, because they have the independence of a cat, but the playfulness of a dog.
No, I
You
don't
should
know.
look into it.
I've seen people who actually had those. Those are some strange looking animals.
Yeah, but they're cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, but thanks anyway.
Okay. Will anyone else like to share before we get started? All right, so I'll pass it over to Theta.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So again, I am Dr. Theta Gibbs-Gray, and I'm so excited to be here with you today for a number of reasons, because Detroit is home for me, even though I have transitioned and I am now in Ohio. I'm originally from Detroit and grew up in Detroit. And I'm always thankful to continue working with Perry, to continue to meet many of the amazing University of Michigan staff who are working with Gear Up, UTOOLS, and a number of the TRIO programs that are there. So I'm very excited and honored to be here today. And I'm excited to meet some of our scholars who are on the call today. And please know that I work best by hearing your voice. So I by no means want you to be silent. And want you to feel like you can and should share all throughout our presentation today. So if you give me just a second, I'll share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, thumbs up if everyone can see my screen, okay? Okay, perfect, all right. So as we shared earlier, today's topic is exploring college admissions essays. And the part that I really want us to talk about and think about is how can we see the power in our personal statements? So we know that a part of the college admissions process is that there's an application that we submit. Once we do the work of deciding what colleges we want to attend, what majors they have that will help us to achieve our future career aspirations and academic aspirations. Part of that is then putting together our admissions application. So as you know, a part of that application is you submitting your transcripts, you having letters of recommendation, you answering some basic questions that the colleges may have. But one of the things that happens is because many colleges, especially at the undergraduate level, may not have face-to-face interviews. So the way that they get to know us is through our personal statements that we write for college. So before we really delve into the details, I always feel like there's a part of writing that is very personal that we need to think about and tap into before we get into the writing. So we'll come back to this statement that each of us will make. So I want to make sure that I'm able to call the scholars who are on the call by name. So if you are a scholar, so I see Heaven, and I also see Stephanie. Yes, okay. And are there others who I have not named who are here that I want to be sure that I call by name? Okay, Heaven and Stephanie. Okay. Okay, so Heaven and Stephanie, and to all of us who are here, so we can all participate if you would like to. As I just shared, that the personal statement is really about us demonstrating to colleges that we each have powerful stories to tell, like there are powerful narratives, powerful thoughts that we each have. So I want to start us off with a continuation of our icebreakers. So if you really knew me, you would know that. And this does not have to be something that is deeply personal that you feel uncomfortable sharing, or that you may not want a lot of people to know, but something that you feel like would give more insight into who you are. So we'll each finish the statement and say, if you really knew me, you would know that and you can either say one of these things or all of them. So you could say, and I'll just make this up. If you really knew me, you would know that I love to ride bikes, that my favorite artist or my favorite author is Pearl Clegg, that I aspire to become a pediatrician, that someone who is a role model for me is my mother, because she is very powerful and encouraging. Okay? So you can respond and say, pick one of those things or do all of them. So hi, is it Kylisha?
Yeah, that's Kaylisha.
Kaylisha, okay. Hi, Kaylisha. Okay, so whoever would like to start, just say, hey, everybody, say your name, and then say, if you really knew me, you would know that and you can insert your answer into any response. So who would like to start us off?
Okay, I'll go.
Thanks, Stephanie.
I had to think about it. My name's Stephanie. If you really knew me, you would know that I love to travel. I keep going, right?
Yep, you can keep going.
Okay.
Yep.
I have been all over the world. I think I talked about it last time. I've been to 20 some countries, and I want to hit every continent. Maybe not Antarctica, but the rest of them. So that is a goal of mine.
Thanks. Okay, yeah, so I learned a lot about you just in those quick few statements, Stephanie, and I'm going to come back to some of them if that's okay later. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Kaylisha, do you want to give it a try and do the finish the statement? If you really knew me, you would know that
I would say, if you really knew me, you would know that Sierra, the singer, I find her as a role model, kind of like. So I just roll with that.
Okay. Thanks. Perfect. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to come back to that too. Perfect. Okay. Heaven, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. You want to take a try?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be quiet. If you really knew me, you would know that I love to read and write. Read and listen to music.
Oh, perfect.
Be quiet.
Okay. And we welcome the beautiful baby noises. It's okay. It's actually not a noise, they're sound. So it's okay. You're good, Heaven. Okay. And does anybody else want to add?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you really know me, you know that I love playing basketball.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Donald.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. I'll come back to each of these. I'm just writing notes. Okay. Have I missed anybody else?
I'll go. So, even though I'm not a student, if you really knew me, you would know that my favorite song artist is Lionel Richie.
Ah, nice. Okay. Yes, this is all good. Yes, it's all helpful to know just a little bit more about each of you. And if you didn't go this time, you can actually you can respond to some of the prompts as we move forward. So I'll make a connection to the prompts. So why we did this is to really think about, what do we think is unique about ourselves? And perhaps some of the things that each of us shared, we might be able to write about. So we might be able to write about the significance of basketball or the significance of music or why Lionel Richie might be our favorite artist or what we've learned in traveling to 20 different countries or, you know, why we love to read in any of the things that we just shared. Okay. So I'm going to continue and kind of connect this. So why I'm asking us to do this is connected to who we are personally and also thinking about historically who we are and inside of our families. Inside of our families and our communities have existed people who are great writers, who are great orators. So as writers of personal statements and any writing for that matter, we must always remember that we exist among a long lineage of diverse writing excellence. So writing excellence is all around us and we should always remember that. So we should start from a point of tapping into who we are personally and tapping into knowing that we are a part of communities that are excellent writers. The symbol that you see in the right, it's an Adinkra symbol. It's a West African symbol that is the Sankofa symbol, and it means to go back and fetch it or go back and to connect it. So to always go back and to connect to our communities, to our history. And we're gonna think about that today as we're engaging in our writing for college, okay? So I'm gonna move on. So as we think about this idea of lineage, and we mentioned songwriters, and loving to read. So what I did is I put some pictures of people historically and contemporarily who have been an inspiration for me. So can some of you identify, do you know who these people are? And especially Stephanie, Donald, Kalisha, and Heaven. Can you name who anybody is here?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala, yep. Kamala Harris.
Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill.
Ah! I don't even know what your problem is. Who is this? I think that's the only one I know in this picture.
It's okay. Okay, so we said Kamala Harris. The woman in the middle is Sonia Sanchez. She is a writer and a poet. And we said Lauryn Hill is to our far right. And then at the bottom left is Langston Hughes, who is a poet and an author. Stephanie, you're like, yes, that's who that is. And in the middle is Kendrick Lamar. So he is a poet and a rapper and a songwriter. And to the right is Jason Reynolds. He is a contemporary author, a young adult author that has written quite a few amazing books for young people. So I put them here because often when I start to write, I need to think about the people who I admire or whose writing I enjoy to think about what is it that I like about them as writers? What do they write? How do they write that captivates me as a writer? So we're going to think about all of this as we move forward. So Kalisha mentioned that Sierra was a performer and an artist who she enjoys. But are there other names that we want to call out who are either poets, your favorite author, or writer that we can also name?
Janae Aiko.
Janae Aiko. Anybody else?
I'm a big fan of Margaret Mitchell.
Margaret Mitchell, okay, yes, this is good. Okay, so we're gonna tap into this to your responses as we keep moving forward. So you might be asking, well, what does this have to do? All of this has to do with before we engage in any writing exercise to always explore your writer's identity, right? It's always important for me because exploring who I am as a writer is going to make a difference for how I approach the writing. If I don't feel good about the writing, if I'm not in an environment where I feel like it's supporting my writing, it will all impact what comes out. Has anybody else ever experienced that? That how you feel, what you're being asked to do, why you're being asked to do it, all these things impact how you approach responding to writing. So what I want us to take a couple seconds to do before we delve into this, and sometimes this can be challenging because a lot of times people don't ask us who we are as writers. what our identity is as a writer. So if you have a piece of paper, a notebook, or if you even want to type this out on your computer, you can do this. But I want us to all take 2 minutes. Just take 2 minutes, and if you see the prompts on the screen, who are you as a writer? How do you feel when you're writing? What does your written voice sound like? So, you know, sometimes we read something and we say, oh, that sounds like Stephanie. That sounds like Joy. That sounds like Kalisha. What do you think your written voice sounds like? And what makes writing fun, engaging, or relaxing? You don't have to answer all of these. It's just stream of consciousness. And let's say you end up writing down your writer's identity and you start writing rhyming words to describe your writer's identity. There's no form to this. Just write down your ideas. If it comes out in a song lyric or in 3 words, or if you end up drawing a picture, whatever it is. But however it comes to you to describe your writer's identity, take 2 minutes to write it out or think it out. So let's keep going. Okay, so I see a few more people who have joined us. Does anybody want to share out and just share, what did you write down, or what were you thinking about in terms of your writer's identity? So who wants to start us off first?
I can go. I can start it off.
Thanks, Stephanie.
So me as a writer, I mean, long career doing it, better with narratives and essays. Was never into research or journalism, anything like that I've ever had to do. It's more say it as it is, and you know, if I don't want to write about it, I'm not going to, kind of thing. Definitely more narratives, and I've always liked the approach when writing some things, like I guess how Jane Austen wrote about life as I know it. I was always having a lot of I try to be engaging and interesting, and I don't want to just use big words, but I want to talk like how I sound and how other people can understand me as well. That's really important.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
There's so much power in what you just said that are important points that are going to come out. Thank you so much for sharing all that you did. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Kevin, Kalisha, Jules, Donald, or Selena, anybody else want to share? How do you think about your writer's identity?
Sorry, I was gonna FaceTime. I guess I'll go. I'm more of a narrative writer. I like to write more about like myself, or I like to talk more about like characters I can make up and like follow along their journeys. More to say.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And that was that Heaven?
It was Selena.
Selena. That was Selena. Okay, thanks, Selena.
Yeah, no problem.
Does anybody else want to go? Okay, if you're still thinking, no worries, we're going to come back to this. Okay, so now that we've thought about what our writer's identity is, how we best approach writing, what topics of writing make sense to us, we're going to think about that in terms of how you apply that to writing your personal statements for college. Any general feelings that you want to share, and they can be positive or challenging, but maybe a word or two or a short sentence to describe what was the process of writing a personal statement like for you?
I found it challenging because it's not just, you just say what you want, really. I mean, you're supposed to, and you're supposed to be creative, and I guess it's supposed to be your own ideas, but you always have to keep in mind those things that these types of trainings teach you. It's, well, what did they want to hear? You know, you have to think about what they're looking for, not necessarily just whatever I'm trying to say. It's what the admissions people want to hear, and you don't know what that is necessarily. And you have to, I mean, it's not just going back and you know, looking over a draft once or twice. It's looking over it 50 times and showing it to, you know, other people with the same experience. Like, is this okay? What do you think about this? I feel like there's just a lot more thought put into it than just, well, this is what I want to say.
Yeah. Stephanie, thanks for sharing that. And guess what? We're going to try to add some flavor to the system of writing. So you mentioned something and you said it's what the admissions counselors want to hear, but we're going to flip it and make sure that it's what we want to hear, but that it also connects in what they're asking of us. So we're going to start from us first. So I'm glad you said that. This is about how do we start from our identity and our stories. And I'm glad you shared what you shared so that we flip it a little bit. So thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to share? What was your process like? You know, what are you walking away thinking or feeling about writing personal statements? And we'll keep going. And I'm sure I'll hear from some more voices as we keep moving. So let me ask, for those of us who are all here. So we know about the Common Application process, that many colleges work through the Common App, and each of you can go to the Common App website and you'll see the prompts here. Now I put some resources together for us. Thumbs up if everybody sees the 2 attachments that I put in the chat. So I put a pamphlet, a Word document in the chat, and a concept map in the chat. Let me know if you see it and if I need to add those attachments back in the chat. You can see it. Okay, perfect. So what I want us to do is open up that first document. It's a UTOOLS Scholars Packet. And I believe it's either on page 2 or 3 where you will see 7 prompts that are connected to your personal statement writing. That keeps them concise. So we're going to go through them on the slide very quickly, but you have this packet as a reference. So you don't need to write anything down in terms of the prompts, just write your notes down. So just so you know, for the Common App, there's 7 prompts. So you have 7 prompts to tell your story, and they've made them so big that you can find any part of who you are, any part of what you like to write about to respond. So can I get someone to volunteer to read this first prompt? And it's in your packet, and you can also read it from the slide.
Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is more meaningful. They believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story.
Perfect. Okay. And who is that just read?
Me, Jules.
Jules, perfect. Okay, I thought it was you, Jules. Okay, Jules. Thank you. Does anybody feel like, take a few seconds, do you feel like you have a story that's attached to your background or your identity or a talent or an interest that you have that you could write a whole essay about? And if the answer is yes, can you just unmute and tell us what you think it is?
My talent is to it's art.
Okay.
So basically I like painting, drawing, makeup, you know.
Okay, you like to beautify things in different ways, Jules.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that you could talk for a long time about you as a painter and an artist and why you like to do makeup?
Why?
Yep. Do you think that you could write about it?
Oh,
and
yeah,
you don't have to right now. Oh, and I'm sorry. And I was just saying, do you feel like, because you said you think that that's a talent, but I would say that it is because you identified it. It's something really significant to your identity, right?
Yeah, because I really like doing like something that involves beauty, like, you know, like looks, like outfits, makeup, hair, you know, stuff like that kind of things, including drawing and stuff.
Okay.
Because sometimes I use that to, like, you know, picture what I'm trying to do.
Perfect. Okay, so you're using your imagination, your talents, your gifts, your creativity, all of these things go into your artistry. So you could put all of that into your personal statement, writing about how you are an artist in many of these different ways. Does someone else, in addition to Jules, have an example of something that is a part of their background, any part of their identity, anything? So like the language that you speak, where you're from, your culture, anything that you feel like you could write about in response to this prompt, or perhaps a career passion that you have. Does anybody else want to share if you maybe have a connection? Okay, so on that packet, if you feel like you could perhaps respond to number one, you just need to think about it a little bit more, you can put a star next to number one, and we'll come back to it too. Okay, can someone else read prompt number 2 for us?
The lessons we take from obstacles can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from that experience?
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, let's take a few seconds. Does anybody feel like, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, if you do share, you can share, and it doesn't have to be specific details. You can let us know generally, but do you feel like you would feel comfortable responding to this one? If there's been a challenge in your life that you've overcome and you feel like you would want to write about this and you want other people to know about it, is there anybody here who would say yes?
Yes.
Okay, who said yes?
Me, Jules.
Jules, okay, Jules, yes. Okay, so you automatically said there's something that I would want to write about.
So you want me to start the paragraph right now? Because I got a lot.
Okay, as you're writing, and I'm glad, yes, Jules, I'm here for it all day. So if you have a scrap sheet of paper, or if you're on your computer, start to think through your ideas of how you would respond to this, okay? And then we'll come back to it at the end. Sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next one in the interest of time. So Stephanie just read prompt number 2. Prompt number 2 is pretty self-explanatory. It's asking you not just to talk about something that was a challenge, but it's asking you to say what specific actions you took to overcome. So this was a challenge that I experienced in my life. These things happened and I was able to overcome them. And then talk about how that made you a stronger or a more resilient person. What does this say about you moving forward? How does this help you to approach life as you move forward? So it's not just saying, this is this challenge I experienced and that's it. It's talking about the details. How did you persevere and overcome? Who helped you, perhaps? How do you want to help other people if they have the same challenge? So there are many layers to this one. So let's keep going. Can someone new read prompt number 3?
It says, reflect on time when you challenge a belief or idea. What can you read that one?
Yep, prompted. Yep.
Prompted your thinking. What was the outcome?
Perfect. Thanks, Jules. Okay. So for all of us, let's think about, do we know somebody in our families, in our communities, in the media right now, or historically? Who are people who have stood up for other people and they've challenged something that was happening that negatively impacted other people? Can we name some of those people?
Martin Luther King.
Wait a minute.
Jr.
Repeat what you said?
Yep, Martin Luther King Jr. Thanks for asking, Jules. I was saying, can you think about somebody that you know personally or in the media who has stood up for other people?
I did.
You did. Okay, yes. So you have an example of how you stood up for other people. Jules, so you're on fire here because it looks like you could potentially answer prompt 1, 2, and 3. So for someone like you would have many options and you would just choose what you could best write about. So who said Martin Luther King Jr.?
Oh, it's not me.
Wait a minute, I got a question. Because since I'm gonna write, would I be able to like do a video? I'm still gonna it's not a video of me, it's like slides.
Yeah, you know what? So that's a good question. So I've not really heard, though I haven't heard admissions counselors say that they've had students do that. I know that sometimes they have students who do artistic interpretations. So they may have an essay and it may be accompanied with like a drawing or something else, but we can get your question answered. Like if you were to do the essay and then you were also to have an artistic rendering of what your essay was. So I'm glad you asked. So let's figure that out and do a little bit of exploration. Okay. But basically
Thank you.
what this prompt is asking is write about when you have challenged an idea. So if you stood up for somebody or if you stood up for something, and then you talk about what made you do that and were you able to make changes because of what you did. I'm going to just move a little bit faster through the other prompts because I want to be able to hear from all of us before we wrap up. Okay. Okay. So prompt 4, does someone new want to read prompt 4?
I can.
Thank you.
It says describe a problem you solved or a problem you like to solve. It can be an intellective.
Yep, you're good. Intellectual challenge.
Intellectual challenge, a research query, a ethical dilemma, anything that is of personal importance, no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution.
Perfect. Thanks, Heaven. Heaven, does prompt 4 sound like the last one? It kind of sounds like prompt 3.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So prompt 3 and 4 are kind of similar. So if any one of you feel like you could answer prompt 4, or prompt 3, you can just choose between the two because they're similar, but they have slight differences. Okay. So can someone else read prompt 5 for us?
Thus, a accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself and others.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay. Does anybody here feel like there was an event or something that you accomplished that really demonstrated to you and other people that you are maturing, that you are making good decisions, that you're growing as a person? Is there anybody here who could respond to this? Maybe not this one, or we're still thinking? Okay. Okay, and prompt 6. Jules, I think that was you. Do you want to grab prompt 6?
Describe a topic idea of concept concept you find so engaging that
Engaging.
it makes
Engaging. You're good. Yep, engaging.
Engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it
captivate
you? What or who do you turn when you want to learn more?
Perfect. Thanks, Jules.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. No apologies necessary. Perfect. Okay. Yes. So Jules helped us to get to, can any of you describe a topic or idea? So something that is so exciting to you that you could talk about it all day. Or
me as in like what? Can you
so Jules,
can you say an example?
Yep, this is similar to prompt 1, I think. I think you could respond to this because you like to beautify things and you're an artist. So this is similar to prompt 1 to me. So you could also do this too. Also, does anybody know somebody who they talk about like this one thing all the time? Or maybe Donald, this may not be you, but Donald, do you feel like basketball is really important to you and you could write significantly about your experience playing basketball?
Basketball is kind of important, but it's not like a big thing. But I do love playing basketball.
What trumps basketball for you?
Just seeing basketball on TV when I was younger. It called out to me, and I just started playing basketball. And I just try to train to be in the NBA, but I know I'm not going to be able to make it there. But I had the confidence back then that I could make it, and ever since I've been playing basketball all the time.
Thanks for so you explained a lot. You explained that this is something from childhood that has been connected to you, but you also said, what I also want to let you know is just because you said basketball, it doesn't mean that this is what you write about, because you just let us know there are multiple parts of you and other things that you like and could talk about. So it may not be basketball, Donald, but it may be something else that's a part of who you are that you might want to write about and talk about. Thank you for walking us through what you just shared. Okay, then the last one just says, if you had an essay already that you wrote about a topic, you can use that essay and tweak it. So this is what I want us to do. In that, please look at the packet and look back at prompts 1 through 7. And I want you to flag which ones you think you could write. And if anybody wants me to go back in the presentation so you can actually see some of the prompts, but you have them in that packet, let me know. So take a few seconds to kind of think, which one or ones do I think I would want to respond to? And let me know if you want me to go back while you're thinking.
You said packet?
Yep, so there's a link in the Zoom chat, and if it's easier, I can also email it out to everybody, where Jules,
Can you email it to me?
Yep, I'll email it to you. So before we go, I'll make sure I have your email, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, I got a new email, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, perfect.
I can put it on the chat for you.
Yes, perfect, thank you. Okay, so basically today was just an introduction to this, and all of you have time to continue to write about it. So Stephanie, guess what? I'm gonna go back to something that you said. Your authentic voice should be what comes out in this personal statement, right? Like, you have the right to choose which of these essays you want to write about, and that it shouldn't be about what the admissions counselors want to hear. It's what you have to say is most important. So once you choose that topic, start to brainstorm. Don't cross out, this is for each of you, don't cross out your ideas, just write it or type it down and just simply get your thoughts out. Because let's say, for example, I think I could write in response to prompt 1 or 3. But if I start writing out 3, I realize I actually don't have that much to say about number 3. I have more to say about number 1. Whatever you have the most to say about is what you go ahead and write about. And you want to have fun. You don't want it to be boring. You want somebody to read it and say, that is Selena. That is Jules' voice. That's Donald's voice. That's Heaven's voice. It sounds like them. They're not using words that don't sound like them, but it sounds like them. You want it to sound like you, which goes back to earlier when we said, what does your writer's voice sound like? Okay. And something that sometimes happens is also make sure that the essay is about you. Like, say, for example, I want to write about my mother's influence on me. It's fine for me to do that, but once I say why she influenced me and how, the essay should then be about me, how that makes me a better or stronger person. Because sometimes we end up writing about another person and people don't walk away knowing a lot more about us, but they know more about that person. So now we want you to just brainstorm. Take the next couple of days and brainstorm and think about, what story do I want to tell? Because each of you have powerful stories to tell. Let me stop right here. And does anybody have any questions, any comments, or anything that you want to offer or talk about before we wrap up? Stephanie, can I ask you something? Does this help you to think differently? Because we talked about it in a different way. Does this help for you to approach it in a different way? Like, it's really not about what they want to hear. It's about what I want to write about.
Yeah, it does. When I was applying to colleges, that was the thought. It was trying to figure out what it is that they're looking for to hear, to try to be unique, to really intrigue them. And that's not necessarily, like, looking at what you've presented, it's not necessarily the perspective you should have.
Yes, but I'm so glad that you said that, because a lot of times we walk away feeling like, man, what is it that they want me to say? And it can be more difficult. So I really appreciate that you said that. I'm going to make sure that I specifically make that point when we have these conversations. So I appreciate you for that and offering your experience.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anybody else want to share? So it could be, has anybody thought about what might you write in response to? So Selena, Jules, Heaven, Donald, which prompts do you think you could write in response to, or any of the other amazing young people who are on the call whose names I may not be able to see? Selena, I think I see that you have paper, and Jenny, I know that you're on the call too. Yes, okay. But was there a particular prompt that you feel like you could respond to?
Sorry, I keep muting myself.
You're good.
Prompt 1 or prompt 2 are 2 prompts that I could easily write about. Only because like I can take personal stories from my life and just write about it 2 or 3 pages and send it in. And I actually used prompt 1 when I sent in my college applications for almost all of my essays. And I wrote about wanting to become a social worker because I was in foster care and why I want to better other people's lives, pretty much.
Selena, yes, perfect. Okay, yes. And how you just described that was perfect. You talked about why you want to, your personal connection. So I love it. Thank you for offering that example. Okay. Anybody else want to share what they think they would write about? Okay. So can anybody, if you feel like you may need help with writing your personal statement, I will stop sharing right here, but can you just put in the chat if you would like for us to follow up with you via email about supporting you with writing your personal statement or personal essay. And know that personal statements are not just for college admissions, but often if you're applying for a job or for a career, sometimes they're asking you to write a little bit more about who you are. So know that I'm an attentive audience and I'm happy to give feedback, and you have amazing colleagues here who would give you feedback as well. So let me know, or let us know, if you could use any support. And otherwise, I thank you each for being here and for participating. I hope that you continue to remember that each of you have very powerful stories to tell, and that it's important for people to hear your stories. Whether you write your stories, whether you speak them and you talk to other people about your stories, whether you write poems, raps, songs, whether you do art and you draw your stories, find your outlet for writing your stories in addition to writing them in these particular ways. So I want to honor you each for participating. It was good to hear your voices, to see your faces when possible, and thanks for being in community, everybody. And I'm going to put my email. So if there's anything else that you all want to share, you can share, but I'm going to leave my email so that you can follow up if you have any more questions.
Thank
so
you.
I just put it in the chat. You're welcome, Stephanie. You're most welcome.
I have a question for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes.
Should people say why they want to go to the specific school that they're applying to, or should they leave it generic?
Okay, so typically what has happened now, because the prompts have changed so much, is that on the Common App, it will ask you a whole nother set of questions. So they'll ask you, can you talk about why you want to attend this college? What major do you want to pursue? So if we give Selena's example, if Selena was going to fill out the Common App, it would ask her, tell us more about what major you're interested in, and she would put social work. So because they leave that for space on the app, they may say, we're going to free up room for you to talk about other things. But if you really feel like, and Selena's is a good example too, if any of you feel like your career aspirations or what you want to major in are connected to your story, then yes, the question that you asked is very relevant. You should pick a prompt that allows you to talk about why you want to attend that college, but it should be connected back to, I want to attend this college because I want to become an engineer. I was always fascinated with, creating or developing planes, and I want to be an engineer who constructs planes, right? So you can connect it back to your personal experience, but that was a great, great question. Thanks for asking.
I have another question if you.
No, please. Yes,
at least the statement. Just from my own experience, the question about whether or not you should send examples of your talent, your art, or whatever. I do know that from working with people in applying to colleges and stuff, that some of the schools really appreciate that, especially if you are have a particular talent. You still write your essay, but then you can include a video of your talent, or your, if it's art, you can, you know, pictures that you've drawn, or if you're an athlete, a little video of you playing. If you're a musician, same thing if you're a singer, because as you probably know too, I know, for example, that the University of Michigan has a point system where they give extra points for specific talents that they're looking for. So it helps, and then they can pass that video on to the department that you might be going into, and they might say, wow, this person would be a really good match for our department, for our school. So
yes, thank you for offering that. And yes, so that's also an additional point, and I wish that we had more time, and maybe this can be another session. But to add to your example, so say for example that you play the clarinet or you play the saxophone. Typically, you would do your Common App essay, but the college of, like, if you're applying for fine arts, they'll ask you, you'll do an interview, and you may send a recording of you playing your instrument, or recording of you singing. Or if you apply to the art school, they'll say, in addition to your essay, can you send an art sample? So yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So there are really, it depends on the college, it depends on the major, and some colleges do, regardless of what your major is, they will accept multiple ways of you demonstrating. It just, we have to make sure, like if it's the University of Michigan, we know that that's the case. We would have to do research and check to make sure that other universities also allow you to send multiple artifacts. So these are great comments and questions too, so thank you for adding. Is there anything else though? Anything else that you're thinking about?
May I
Or
ask
any
one
other?
more question?
Sure.
Sorry, but during this crazy year that we're in the pandemic, are universities and colleges bypassing the interview into, you know, the personal interview, face-to-face interview? Are they doing something different that the students should be aware of? Are they Zooming or whatever?
Yep. So this is something, so in whatever college you are interested in, always make sure that you reach out to the admissions counselors, because yes, there are some institutions, and I know the University of Michigan is doing this too, where they will do Zoom interviews with you, or you can ask questions about what the college is like, and they may connect you with professors or students who are there. So there are alternative ways, but it just depends on what the college is and what your major is. So you always want to, admissions counselors at every institution are going to be like gold to you, because they can answer these questions for you. Or if you can do a Zoom interview or submit your essay or do any alternative ways of letting them know how you are. I think I saw a point or hand up. So Selena, was that were you saying something? And Jules, did you also want to say something too? Because I feel, okay.
Two things. Oh, one, I just wanted to say personal essays are not hard for college. I've done them. I've done a lot of them. And I go to school at Eastern, and I just want to answer her question. They will do a Zoom call, or they will like they'll connect you with a student. Like when I first went to Eastern, because I transferred, there was a girl, like the college counselor basically connected me with this girl, and the girl ended up FaceTiming me and telling me about the school or whatever, and I ended up going to school at Eastern, so it's not that hard.
Yes, okay, perfect. I'm glad that you gave this specific example. So but this is even before COVID, right? This is before COVID that you had.
So I was at WCC, and then I transferred, and I was at WCC before COVID, and I transferred to Eastern because I had ended up moving out here in like the midst of all of this, and it was like right in the middle of COVID. Like
perfect. Okay. Thank you for sharing that example, because yes, that is an example. It depends on the institution, and you're saying yes, Eastern has alternative ways of doing interviews with students. Perfect. Thank you. And also shout out to that transfer. Yes, you just gave a shout out. Yes, for how you transferred from one institution to another. So there's a lot of wisdom that's on this call that I hope that we continue to tap into, and congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.